welcome, guys. AJ with me is very shocked. G. I woke him up.
I wasn't ready for it, but I wasn't ready. That minute and a half countdown intro caught me by surprise.
I should make an Aussie guys version. Make a countdown from like 300 or something. Maybe I can include highlight clips of players and have YouTube kick us off before the pod even starts.
I have no idea why you picked 300. Why did you pick 300?
Okay.
I thought it was
no relevance at all.
Oh, okay.
Apart from the fact that it's a fantastic movie, you should definitely check 300 out if you haven't.
I like the second one better, to be honest. What's the second one
what
called?
Now?
There's a 600.
There's a sequel to
302.
They all died, mate. Where who's left for the second one?
No, the second one's more about the whole lead up to it.
It's a prequel.
It's basically roughly based on a true story.
Yeah, but when they do second ones that go back in time before the first ones, they never work out, do they?
I thought the second one was better. I really liked the second one, actually. Yeah.
So there's a second one, 600, because that's how you find out how they get to 300.
Maybe it was 150. I have no idea. I can't remember.
Yes, and Andrew, very good point. Andrew's just
we actually need to introduce our guest because he's not a guest. He's part of us.
He's one of the biggest Fantasy Chief fans in Australia. It is Ben Harler, formerly a Vikings fan, but he's seen the light. He has seen the light. No more of that. That Kirk Cousins rubbish.
We were just talking about this, like, I've evolved to the stage where I need an NFC and an AFC team. Complete rubbish, obviously, but still, the reason for this.
So I was just when you brought that up, I thought, okay, now what AFC team would I support?
Yeah,
and I'm going through them all. Pittsburgh Steelers, only because the football team, obviously, I support here is the same colours. But, mate, I don't. The Buffalo Bills are sort of, with Josh Allen being there and everything, is a little bit exciting. Mate, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC that I could actually support, to be honest.
The fact that you get to go to games and, throw a guy onto a table from the top of a car sounds pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think it'd probably be the Buffalo. I reckon the Bills would probably be the team that I find. The Jets would be another one, only for the fact that my family is based in New York. So that'd be the other reason. Chargers, not a chance.
Well, I was going to ask AJ if he was going to support another AFC team, if he was going to jump around. Who that might be?
Oh, who that might be? Well, yeah,
right, okay.
He's still here. He hasn't gone in the trash. Poor
He's
Derek Carr.
Off camera.
He's off camera
slowly into the ground.
What are you talking about? He is going to have a fantastic year, G. Not with us, I believe.
Not with us. But look, it was, new regime. What is he going to be? 33? 32?
One day he is. It's
one day he will be. One day he's never going to catch me, but he'll be my age eventually.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's probably it's time, isn't it? Like, I still feel we came home with the old magic beans for the trade, but it is what it is. And I actually noticed that we gave back. I think did we give back? We got a fifth, and we gave back was it the sixth or something like that, or seventh? And I thought straight away, is Memphis doing this trade deal? Because every time we do a trade with Memphis, no matter what it is and whether or not he's won the trade or you think he's like you want somebody but you're willing to give up because you want this guy, so it might help him out a bit more, he'll always chuck in, how about you throw me a fifth?
Yeah.
Always latches it on the end.
Yeah.
No,
But
I felt this is what it's like.
I saw a tweet and somebody said, like, during the draft, the value is so different to after a draft or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the draft, someone's like, "Oh, I'll throw you 2/3 and a second to move up in the first round or whatever," and then for a guy and they maybe pick someone like Jordan Love or something, and then after the draft, it's like, "Oh, Julio Jones, yeah, I mean, he's only one of the best wide receivers, to grace the field over the last 10 years or whatever." Oh, yeah, just a couple of late round swaps and a second. Yeah, it just seemed like real value for Tennessee for sure.
And to be honest, G, it feels like a misstep if you were going to trade Julio to not trade him during the draft, because the value is now like you don't get to use the pick. You know what I mean? Like if you could have traded him during the draft for a day 2 pick, then you get to use it. You know what I mean? Now it's like you traded him, and apart from the salary cap reasons why they traded him, you've got a pick, but like you're kind of waiting to use it. Like you don't really get anything for it.
You can't replace it, can you?
No. So there's this hope that we'll probably end up using the pick on a defensive player, and it looks like the defensive draft next year, from what I've been looking at the way too early 2022 mock drafts, mate, it is loaded with defensive players.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, let's put it this way: if you're in Dynasty and you're doing a trade deal now, I'd be trading for 2023 picks, not 2022 picks, judging by what's on the board in the first round, at least at the skill position. Outside of quarterbacks, says that there was a ton of quarterbacks on the few of them that I've looked at, unless you're up for a quarterback. But if you want another position, probably start trading your 2023 picks for those.
Fair. That's an interesting call. And I read an article actually during the week, someone who was advocating trading for 22 picks or 23 picks. Because look, you do see there's definitely tiers. Oh, there's tiers every year, I know, but you definitely see tiers in this rookie class, right? You get to a point in, especially if you're not IDP, you get to a point where the value drops off, not the cliff, but it definitely drops.
I've got to take these things off. I can't see a thing with these on. Not even mine. They're my wife's.
What? I was wondering why you're wearing them.
I do need to wear glasses, but I'm further enough away from the screen.
Right.
That, I don't need them.
I think as well, like the interesting thing, and we might get into this a bit later as well, but it's like, well, there's a trade calculators and all that jazz out there. I'm sure everyone's used some of those, etc. But what I often find interesting is, if you're trading a pick, in a rookie draft or whatever, and you think, right, I'm going to get this guy. Okay, so say Terrence Marshall, who one of those guys, maybe a second round, whatever. Sorry, yeah, it's all right, G. I haven't said anything bad yet.
No.
But but then what's interesting, I always find, because some people think, oh yeah, I'll trade that pick before or whatever. Afterwards, you're like, well, if you didn't trade that pick, or if you could swap that for a guy, who's an established receiver or whatever, would you rather have that guy or would you rather have that pick? And that's really hard to associate a value with, right? So, like say Terrence Marshall, you pick him with the 2.3 or 2.3 or whatever, and then you look at the ADPs for rookie overall dynasty drafts, and a guy like say a Russell Gage is near him or something like that. He's probably not. He's probably way below that. But who would you rather have, him or Russell Gage?
Yes, and I think everybody usually likes, depending on the position of the draft board, that once you start getting down to, if you're talking Russell Gage, people rather take a chance on the shiny toy.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
Even though I think Russell Gage could be very good for the Falcons this year. Now we're surely over.
And it does depend on where your team is, right? As well, like if you're winning your league and you're picking the last pick in the end of the first round, do you want that pick, or do you want to get rid of it and get a solid flex guy who's going to keep you competitive?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on where your roster's at with the team you got, isn't it? Really.
I almost feel like sometimes instead of, and I should just do this 1 year in a league that I don't care about taking the chance on, is not use any of my rookie picks, but when I'm on the clock or close to on the clock, flip them for veterans and see how I feel about my team at the end.
Because that's when the best value.
Oh, yeah.
On the clock. And let me, then again, I've tried to flip a few players this year and just maybe it's the leagues we play in, except for which we spoke about, the Rockolution League, which was with Kyle last week, which was seriously out of control. Like the amount of trading that went on in that league was incredible. Never seen anything like it.
Sometimes trades kind of make more trades. Like you get a bit of activity going and it's like a shark frenzy.
Yeah, it becomes contagious.
Yes.
Everybody wants to get involved because people don't want to feel like they're missing out, even on let alone players, picks. They just don't want to be left out.
Yes, especially when people are jumping up for targets, especially.
Yeah.
And then you get a sense of like, well, if I don't go up and get the guy I'm after, I'm going to miss out on him.
Yeah. So sorry, Ben, go.
No, yeah, I think you're right. And, I think the one thing is all right, well, what's left on the board, right, at that point as well. So say, like, for example, okay, one of my leagues, I won it last year, and my wide receiver room is Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, and then after that, I haven't really got a great deal, but those are three solid guys who are going to produce, big numbers, all right? So I had the 112. So by that time, all those main guys had gone, and it was a super flex. So I was probably looking at your tier 2 receivers at that stage. So I traded that 112 for Chase Claypool. So it's like, well, I think that's pretty good value, but I wasn't going to get a guy like.
If you feel that Chase Claypool's better than anything that's left on the board, yeah, for sure.
And also,
112, I think it probably is.
And he's probably more established as well, right? Like he's not
exactly who he is.
Rookie season. He's going to be a part of the offense, and you can kind of project what you're going to get out of that as your fourth guy when you've got three sort of veteran-y type wide receivers. So, yeah.
No, totally agree. Like, I think it gets to a point where you have to start looking in drafts. Is like, I think I'm better off going and getting rid of this pick and getting an established guy. Yes. Because no matter what, like, I know everybody talks about how deep this wide receiving draft is, and look, it is deep in the amount of how many wide receivers there are. But I'm not racing out and grabbing a lot of these guys, to be honest. It gets to a point where what we're going to do now, and it just, I wish we do an IDP because I'd be swapping across to defensive players pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
And
see, that's the thing. Like the reality is, and if you look at your draft, see, when you're in the middle of a rookie draft, you get the excitement, and you're also thinking, you have faith in your picks and you can see all of them hitting. But in reality, what's the percentage? Are you gonna get 50% of them?
But
if you look at last year's draft, if you look at your picks last year, I can guarantee you'd look at that and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I picked this guy. I can't believe I picked that guy. Versus trading all the picks in for vets who you know exactly who they are. Man, I reckon your team could be much better off.
Oh, and the vets don't even have to be like guys that have been in the league for 5 or 6 years. There'll be people willing to trade, a second-year guy or third-year guy for the new shiny toy. Without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, G, what are we doing tonight?
Well, tonight what we're going to do, we're going to have a redraft of the rookies. Now, we know what they were pre-draft and their ADP, and now they've found a team. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. So based on that, we're going to redraft them and we'll just have a look at how landing spots have affected where they initially were set up. And I'm trying to find someone's name that I've dropped somewhere because I've got two. Well, it doesn't really matter because whoever the third one is going to be last anyway. No, that's not fair.
We can guess who the third. Yeah, the third person is.
No,
we're smart. We're pretty smart.
It's not you, AJ. It's bloody me. Thank God. Okay. So what we'll do is I'm going to put these in my hand, shake them up.
Yep.
Okay. First out.
Scientific method. First out is.
First up. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you're number one.
He just picked off the floor. He's just picked it up.
I actually had two in there. Second is Ben. AJ is third.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, so based on that, I will go first. So we're gonna mock draft a team. So we have one QB. It's not a super flex. Two wide receivers, two running backs, and a flex spot.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to fill all those spots, and I can tell you right now, by halfway through already, we're going to be.
Did you say a tight end?
Did I say tight end?
I don't
tight end, please. Oh, sorry, tight end.
And flex.
And a flex, yes.
And a flex.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players.
That's why we only have Ben on because I figure once we get down to how many 21 players, we'll be scraping a bit of the barrel. Okay, so I'm first up, and this is a tough choice because at the top you have the obvious one's Najee Harris, I suppose, because of the landing spot that he went to. He's going to get a stack of ball, and his value at the end of the first season is probably going to be one of the highest.
Oh yeah, a good chance to be an RB1. He's going to get.
He does.
A number of carries,
and really, I should be doing that. But this is the shiny toy. I've taken the blue pill. I'm pretty excited. I look. And I reckon I can get an RB. I'm going to get one of these other guys anyway. So I'm going to go and take the unicorn in this year's draft. And I'm going to go and take a quarterback in a 1 QB league. No, I'm going to go and I'm going to take Kyle Pitts. We haven't seen a tight end like this.
Homer.
Of what?
A homer.
There's probably a little bit of that, but no, but. Mate,
you're right, G. We haven't seen a tight end like this since Eric Ebron.
Exactly. So he's a little bit quicker than Eric Ebron. Haven't seen the alligator hands so much with Kyle Pitts, but I'm going to take a guy here, knowing I can get one of the other, another running back. I'm going to take a guy where I'm going to win the position. Mate, he's more a large wide receiver than he is a tight end.
Oh, yeah, he is.
So I just want the unicorn. I want a game changer, and that's what Kyle Pitts could be. And now that we know that Julio's gone, that's put a lot of added pressure, I think, on his shoulders for a rookie. And it might not pay out the first year because we'll have to see how he handles that pressure.
Yes.
But like I said, I'm going to take the unicorn here and give myself a really good leg up at a position.
No, that sounds fair. And I think you put it nicely in that you said, like, the Falcons could afford to lose Julio. Well, it's sad. It was a salary cap thing mostly. But, the fact that Kyle Pitts will fill that void to some extent. And then I think players like Austin Hooper are still relevant. They're still going to get ball. And as you said, that I don't know if Russell Gage is going to.
Austin Hooper?
Yes.
You mean Hayden Hurst?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. I I think Hayden
Sorry.
Hurst is sort of a forgotten guy now.
Yeah.
With Kyle Pitts has all of a sudden popped back into the picture now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I 100% agree, and I think other players will get bits as well. You know, Russell Gage and whoever else.
But isn't it worrying, AJ, particularly for G here, that he's, you know, that we're struggling to remember the names of former first round picks and who they play for and whether they're relevant or not. Like I'm not looking into the future here, G, but I mean, unless your name's Travis Kelce, you're not winning your league for your owner, I don't think. And I'm not sure Kyle Pitts.
Oh, not in year one. No,
is going to do that.
No.
Whereas, you know, I think we saw last year a bit of a change in the guard in terms of, you know, the whole, oh, well, what are you doing drafting rookies in redraft leagues high? I mean, Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb, you know, kind of blowing that thought out of the water a little bit, I think, and as offenses start to lean on rookies, I think, a lot more. So
you don't like my pick?
It's a great pick.
I don't not like the pick.
No, but the way I look at it as well is that I'm getting a once in a generational sort of tight end that what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And mate, I'm going to get a CD Lamb's going to come along. A Jamar Chase is going to come along next year, or you know what I mean, or the year after. There's going to be wide receivers that are going to be at that level of these guys, but maybe I don't think we might not see a Kyle Pitts for a while. At that
That's fair enough. My only other question would be, you know, are they going to have a quarterback? Is he going to have a quarterback past next year that's going to give him that production? I think that's the other thing on my mind. But mate,
we're going to say a lot of these wide receivers are going to have, you know,
different.
They're going to have a quarterback there in 12 months, 2 years. Really. Sure. You know, there's one in Miami. Who knows? There's one in Philadelphia. Who knows?
Yeah.
Geez, even in Cleveland, if it all goes to hell there, like who knows? So,
well, look.
For example.
Let me roll on the back of that then. I actually read this on Twitter today. It's the first time I ever read it. I think it's a bit of a new take, but it says you shouldn't draft running backs high. So I don't think I will. I'm going to go Jamar Chase. I think you know, at the end of the day, if you're looking for that Justin Jefferson type guy, I think that's going to potentially just go off this year. I think this guy could be, you know, huge. I think if Joey Burrow stays healthy, it takes that into another level. And I think if you're thinking about a guy who could put up 1,000 yards, you know, look around double-digit touchdowns, I think this guy is the only wide receiver who could do that from this class, from the off. And love the landing spot. Love the fact that he's reunited with Burrow. I mean, say what you will about our friend Mr. Zach Taylor, but if you're giving your quarterback 60-odd opportunities to throw a ball in his rookie season like he did last year, I think he's going to give, you know, Jamar Chase a heap of targets as well.
Oh, without hit, mate, Jamar Chase, I could see being the number one receiver on Cincinnati in his first season. Like I'm a big fan of T. Higgins, and Boyd's just going to do what Boyd does every year. But Jamar Chase has that potential to be the number one guy straight out.
And, you know, I think there's a bit of a tendency for dynasty or fantasy players to go, oh, Jamar Chase is going to the Bengals, therefore Higgins and Boyd are not worth nearly as much. But when you look at the amount of targets that there will be in that passing offense, there's plenty. There's plenty to go around. You could have all three of those guys be really fantasy relevant. No problem.
Yeah, and I think the added thing to that, right, is what you guys were talking about with Kyle last week. Like, is it the Joe Mixon season? Didn't we say that last year? Didn't we say that the year before? You know what I mean? Like,
this year, mate.
It's this year, yeah. He's a tier 2 running back. He'll give you good, solid value at that, but he's not a guy that's going to be the focal point of the offense, right?
Yeah.
Softly.
Yeah. Okay.
You're up, AJ. Pick number 3.
I get 2 picks.
Oh, we're going the turn. I didn't even think of that.
Turn?
No, I wasn't doing it like that.
Yeah, do that, AJ, because then he won't get his running back.
I know, that's his.
Because I figure there's not that many players in the really top tier here. So if I have two in a row, that's going to be very, very nice. So the 2, shall I just keep going? So I
don't know if he walked out in protest or whether he's gone to get another game plan. This is plan B. He's just gone and got plan B.
What's plan B?
I've got plan B, C, and D here now.
Oh, B, C, and D.
I didn't even think of that, to be honest. And that's only fair. That's only fair.
It is only fair. So, give me Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, please. I'll take both of those guys and fill my running back room.
Are you really?
Yeah. So, Najee Harris is an obvious one. I don't need to explain it. Travis Etienne, I think, has got an amazing amount of potential. I'm really excited about how they're going to use him in that offense, because it does seem like he's going to be a pass-catching back, and certainly, him and James Robinson. I mean, James Robinson is going to get a reasonable amount of ball as well, but I think Etienne, we could be looking. I hate to. It's terrible. It's probably a bad practice in Dynasty to use comparisons, but we could be looking at Alvin Kamara type use in this offense. And that, I think, has got a lot of potential. And certainly he's very exciting. I mean, when you look at the running backs, I think there's a tier gap here for sure. Like, you could say there's a tier gap from Harris to Etienne, but there's definitely a tier gap, in my opinion, between Etienne and Javonte Williams.
So I disagree, but anyway.
So anyway, those are my 2, and I think that's a pretty strong 1-2 punch.
I try to shoot into the air and it doesn't let me.
Well, I think on the back of that, then let's just. I'll go with G here. I disagree that there's a teardrop, so I'm gonna grab Javonte Williams because I agree, AJ, in terms of probably your raw skills and technique. Then those 2 guys are above Williams. But what Williams is going to get is he's going to get opportunity in Denver. And he's going to get a lot of, I think, smoke screen. So he's going to, look at that wide receiver room now in Denver. They're a very, very good quarterback away from, potentially being a Super Bowl contender. Whether that happens this year or not is obviously something to think about. But you arguably, after year 1 of Javonte Williams, you could be looking at a top QB in that offense with your Cortland Suttons, with your KJ Hamlers, etc. I'm all in on that Denver offense in about a year's time. Noah Fant. There's a lot to like. So Javonte Williams is just going to be a guy there who's going to see carries. He's going to see touches out of the backfield. Just love the landing spot more than anything. So, given the fact that you just decimated the first tier, then I'll take that and leave G to
pick up the pieces.
walk out the room and grab another 5 sheets of paper.
Oh, that's killed me. I didn't, mate. When I put this together, I wasn't even thinking that, but would have changed.
Probably not. Because
quite possibly could have actually.
Pitts is on his own in a TFG.
It is
to be honest
so.
with you.
Okay, if you're going to decimate one, I might decimate another part of the class then, because I had 2 picks now, don't I? So
You do.
I'm going to. This is the tough one actually because Jamar Chase is gone, obviously. I had Jalen Waddle as my number 2 wide receiver coming out of the class. Did he put up the same numbers as what Devontae Smith did last year? No, based on numbers. But if you look at what he did with his catches, he was far better than Devontae Smith with what he got. And then we have Elijah Moore, who I'm a big fan of as well. And I think just, he's landed smack bang there in New York. And I out of the bat, I think he's going to see a fair bit of ball. I don't know what's going to happen with Crowder.
Just talking about these guys, or are you picking them?
Well, I'm just this is just how it's going through my head. So I don't want to miss out on a running back if I don't take another running back here. But no, I'm going to take Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith with my next 2 picks. In no particular order. I like Waddle better. Devontae Smith, it's always going to have the size concerns, aren't you? But he's got this far, being that small. You don't have to be huge to be good. You don't have to be, 6'3", 210-pound wide receiver type of guy. And Jalen Waddle, I think they've got a lot of mouths to feed actually in Miami now. But I think Fuller's gone at the end of this year. Well, he's there for 1 year. Gesicki will be a free agent at the end of this year. Who knows with Devontae Parker? I was like, mate, is he going to do that again? He's got a different quarterback now. Preston Williams, fingers crossed. But based on that, I'm just going to take the 2 best wide receivers available, and my receiving core is out of control.
So
It is.
That was Waddle and Elijah Moore, was it?
Yes.
Yes. No, Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith.
Good. Just testing.
Yeah. All right, you're up, Ben. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a tough one there for me because I think those were the 2 guys that I think I was hoping to grab one of those there after going Javonte Williams. But I guess that serves me right, G, for sending you up the river. So, look, I think it's probably a good time here for me to think about a quarterback. I think it's a tough one. I don't think it sounds like that Justin Fields is going to start in Chicago, which is mental. But he would be the guy for me that I think I would look at because he offers that dual threat option right out of the gate. I'm also not convinced that Trey Lance is going to start in San Francisco either. So those are the 2 guys that, if you're looking for production, through the air and then on the ground, you would be probably targeting. Andy
Dalton threw 3 picks today in practice against the second stringers.
Yeah, but he keeps getting signed every year, G. So what does that? Yeah, he keeps getting signed.
You need a backup.
Yeah. Look, I'll go Trevor Lawrence here. I think immediate starter. I love I actually love the weapons they've put around him. It's pointing in the right direction. I think it was actually a really great move, I think, by them to bring in another running back. Particularly one that he's familiar with. So yeah, I think I'll take Trevor Lawrence here, and I think production in year 1 looks great for me at the quarterback position.
Well, look, he's the number 1 QB, wasn't he? Ranked by everybody. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people. I I've even heard him say he's like the best prospect since Andrew Luck. Look, he's got kinks to work out, obviously. His ceiling is high, and I reckon his floor is high as well. Like, I don't think he's got a low floor. Like, there's not a big difference in the outcome as a player. Now, he's gone to the Jags, obviously, and there's a reason the Jags had the first overall pick is because, you're the worst team in the league. So, look, his receiving core is good, but it still needs improvement. At least he's got Travis Etienne there. He's got a running game, which always helps out a young QB. But yeah, and people say you look at the upside of Fields and that with running. But if you go and look at Trevor Lawrence, man, that ball gets inside the 5, or even inside, mate, he'll carry the ball. He'll run the ball in.
Yeah,
like it's not like he's not a statue quarterback by any means. It's, he could do what Josh Allen does, and you get me inside the 5, and I'll run this ball in.
Yeah, and I'm interested because my only real worry here, and AJ might have some thoughts on this given the situation with his team last year, is actually the coach. Because one thing, that quite clearly Anthony Lynn got wrong last year was not really understanding what he had with Justin Herbert, to the point where even after he did that, when, the physio did him a favor and punctured what's-his-name's lung and all that jazz, even after that he was saying, no, Tyrod Taylor's still our quarterback. It was like crazy. So Urban Meyer, I don't know what to expect there, if I'm honest, and I don't know how that's going to help a rookie quarterback in the NFL. I feel like if they'd have had a coach that has been around and has been working in the NFL for the last few years, is up to speed with everything, I'd feel a bit more confident. But I just feel like I haven't heard many people talk about that being an issue. In fact, I've heard the opposite. Oh, it's great that Urban Meyer's there, and he only went there because he's going to. So yeah, that bothers me a little bit. But apart from that, I can only see good things. But I mean, Herbert is a good example, right, AJ?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you 100%. I think Urban Meyer is one of the biggest question marks in people's minds at the Jags. If you take him out of the equation, really, I think people would be a lot more positive. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a fair point. That's a fair point there. Urban isn't an in-game adjuster. It's his O&D coordinator's job. He's a culture builder. Yeah, fair point. And I mean, you could argue that's what college coaches do, don't they? Because they have a fairly high turnover of players, and it is all about the culture, right?
Yeah.
Without doubt. And if you ever watched, go and have a look at when they mic up Bill Belichick. Now, whether or not he knows he's mic'd up, he does obviously because I've asked him. But
yeah,
you still got to coach your game and strategize the game, no matter whether the mic's on or not. You're not going to change how you play a game because you're mic'd up. And if you listen to him, he leaves it up to his coordinators, and he just tells them what he wants. It's just simple things as, okay, I want to run the ball here. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I want you to do. I just want you to run. This is where we need to run, and stuff like that. And that's all Urban Meyer. If you put the right people around you, you are a manager of people. And if you haven't to do everything, well, you haven't put the right people in the spot, have you? Easy as that. Someone was saying the other day to me that if you're asking me what to do at work, I think I was actually speaking to Memphis about this. If you're asking, it actually was Memphis, and he told me a piece of advice that he got that he'd learnt from, but also pissed him off at the same time, was he went to his boss, or his boss said to him, if you need to come to me to ask what to do, then I've hired the wrong person, meaning him.
Right.
It's exactly correct. You got to put the right people in the right and let them do the job.
Yeah.
Or trust them to do the job. So, and you just manage everybody.
100% every time.
That makes sense?
Yes. I feel like it's an oversimplification because I feel like if somebody was going to do something that I wouldn't approve of, they're going to do something wrong, I'd rather they asked me.
Okay, Ronnie.
Right? I'd rather they said,
but
is this okay to paint this orange, G?
No, but the point is, are you going to keep, every time I have an inkling that I might be doing the wrong thing, do I come to you every time I think I'm going to do? No, well, exactly. So go and make the mistake and then I'll fire you because you screwed up.
Well,
you know what I mean? But don't keep coming to me all the time and asking me, am I doing the right thing?
Until you learn.
That's not what I hired you for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
so who's up? Who's up?
Me. Come on. It's me.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Oh, very good point. Difference between management and micromanagement. Very nice.
Hey, let's give the medic there a big shout out. I'm sure with the dodgy weather out here in Victoria, I'm sure he's been very busy over the last few years, a few days. Sorry. So he'll be very, very tired and in need of some good conversation here. So let's make sure we do that. So much so that he messaged me the other day, halfway through the workday, saying, "I'm going to Soho for a coffee again if you're around." So yeah.
We're not bringing up Neil's name tonight either. Okay, just heads up. He gets enough shouts out. So
you've already done it. So okay, 2 picks. I'm going to just because it's like staring right in front of me at the moment. I'm going to start by picking it. We've got 3 teams. They're probably not in a rush to get a quarterback, but I'm going to do it anyway, just so G doesn't have a choice or as much of a choice. I'm going to go and get Trey Lance because I feel like he's the next guy on the board, and even though Justin Fields is a nice consolation prize, no doubt. Trey Lance, I think the situation is much better. I think he's got a better coach. I think he's got better pieces around him. So I think that he's going to be very, very effective. Whereas, landing in Chicago, look, there's some nice pieces there as well, but the landing spot's just not quite as good. So give me Trey Lance, and I might go and now G has mentioned like half a dozen players, so no matter who I pick, he probably mentioned it before, but I am going to go and get my first wide receiver, and that'll be Elijah Moore at this point. Elijah Moore, well, you can argue the landing spot, but I think actually the landing spot is good, and you might balk at that, but you've got to, at some point, stop thinking of the old Jets and start thinking of the new Jets. I mean, there's not much that's the same, There's not much that's the same in that organization. And, he can grow with the Zach attack under center. And you've also got some experienced wide receivers in that room, fresh out of free agency. So I think that actually is quite a good situation. Elijah Moore is going to be someone that can hit the field running, so to speak, and have a really quick effect, I think, too. So there's my 2, Trey Lance and Elijah Moore.
Well, Trey Lance, thanks very much, because I was going to take Trey Lance anyway.
You weren't?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
No. So, I like the upside is huge. Because we've seen what happens with guys like, Josh Allen, who's probably pretty much in the same boat. But for some reason, the Bills fans were weren't as happy about them taking Josh Allen as I think 49ers fans were getting Trey Lance. But mate, he's still needs to be molded, and I think he's landed with Shanahan. As long as if he hurts his knee, Shanahan doesn't run him out on the field as a running quarterback, that'd be great. That doesn't end that well. But then again, you know, they didn't have to say who got the quarterback
No.
in Washington. But no, he goes to a coach that can really develop him. As whether or not that
Keep going
that
for a
his
second.
development can
running to the bar.
keep working. And Shanahan's already said that he's like one of the smarter rookies that he spoke to with the whiteboard and whatnot. So that's good. And with the Elijah Moore pick, well, I'm a big fan of Elijah Moore. And it's amazing how people sort of jump on somebody now as the season gets closer. It's amazing how many you read on Twitter how people start talking people up because they don't want to be left off that they didn't talk about him before the draft. It's quite unusual. Where guys like you and me, Ben, no one listens to a couple of Aussie guys speaking in Melbourne, almost as close to the Antarctic as you can possibly get.
We just keep winning those leagues and pulling
keep winning.
and
That's it.
Heading to Vegas, mate. You know, so
That's it. Exactly right.
That,
So that's a good pick. So that puts you
it's
up.
me back on the clock. The only thing I'll say there, because this does sort of relate to my next pick as well, is that do you like the landing spot there in New York?
Would I like somewhere else? Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. You know, like mate, the Jets are the Jets, and they're the Jets for a reason. But look, it's they've got they brought in Corey Davis. Obviously, he's going to be a run blocker for him. But they've still got Denzel Mims, who I'm a big fan of. I think could really take this wide receiver room by the throat. Hopefully this year with Zach Wilson. Now a lot of it comes down to the choice of Zach Wilson, doesn't it? I'm not a quarterbacks guy. I didn't really look at the quarterbacks that much this year. I watched games, but I didn't really watch my usual 4 or 5 or whatever just to get a feel, because I just find it a really hard position for me to pick. So I leave that up to other people and use other people's opinions and then put them on top of the little bits that I think. So it really comes down to that. Would I like him to go somewhere else? Yeah, man, there's a heap of teams he could have gone to. Kansas City would have been good. They lack a slot receiver in, there. They had Conley there for a while, who's sort of that sort of guy, never panned out. Mecole Hardman, he's a couple of years in and really I think the problem there too possibly is the fact that I think the way that Mahomes plays quarterback is that if he thinks he's got half a chance of holding the ball a bit longer and give Tyreek Hill a bit of more of a chance, he'll do it because he has the arm and he has the capability. And I think he does have vision for basically 2 guys on that team.
Yeah.
So it's hard for anybody else outside of of Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, because he's got the guy in the middle and he's got the guy going deep. Perfect. He's going, for me, mate, I've got all my bases covered. I don't need anybody else. I can do both. So, but anyway, that being said, Ben, your pick.
Well, I'm gonna stay in New York. I'm gonna fill out my running back room here with Michael Carter. Funnily enough, linking up the 2 North Carolina boys here. So I've got Javonte Williams and I've got Michael Carter, and I think they were the Thunder and the Lightning, they were called there. And I think that's what Michael Carter could be in the NFL as well. A bit of a smaller guy, but again, let's look at the fact that there's Tevin Coleman there. I mean, yeah, there we go. Thanks for the visual representation, AJ. No worries. And then you've got LaMichael Pirine, who was, let's say, pedestrian as a rookie. So he's got plenty of opportunity there to see a lot of touches, carries, as well as opportunities out of the backfield. And I think in relation to what we're talking about with Lance and Lawrence, I think they're going to be a little bit more conservative with Wilson. I think he's got more to learn, and I think he's got probably the biggest learning curve out of any of the rookie QBs that needs to happen. So they'll lean a bit more on the running game and the receivers, like you say there, that they've brought in. Maybe the more short, intermediate guys than the deep ball, even though Wilson is quite clearly good at throwing that deep ball. So yeah, Michael Carter, I think, is a pretty nice value here in a running back, light draft, shall we say so far.
Well, that's really screwed me
Over
up.
to you, G.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't have to take RBs now. I can wait. I don't have to take a quarterback. I can wait. I just got to fill out my flex spot, which I'm gonna. Who can I take in here to screw everybody? I might take another tight end, to be honest, because that really throws the cat amongst the pigeons. Pat Frymouth is looking.
There's no pigeons left, mate. If you do that, the cat's just running around on its own.
Look, I can't do that to you. I can't do that. That's no fun if I do that. The wide receiver room. The guy I'm going to take is probably the obvious because he was in my top 5. So I'm going to take him, and that's Rashad Bateman. Like, do I like the landing spot? Hell no. It is the disastrous spot to end up on that offense. And I wrote down some stats somewhere, and I have absolutely no idea what I've done with them. But the fact was, I looked up the Ravens' passing offense. Last year, they were 32nd in yards. They were 32nd in attempts. In 2019, and that was Lamar Jackson's MVP year. And let's face it, mate, he didn't get MVP because he could throw the ball like Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady or anybody else, basically, in the top 10. He got it because he was running around, scoring touchdowns with his leg, putting up running back numbers. And he was, even in that year, their offense was 24th in passing yards in his MVP year. So to go and grab a wide receiver on the Ravens offense is almost suicidal to a point, but maybe the fact that they went and drafted 2 wide receivers in this draft, that they still have Marquise Brown there. They have who's escaping me right now, at Mark Andrews, which is probably not good because I mentioned all these wide receivers and they pass an average. I think it's possibly 19 a game on average, which is, you're going to share that between maybe 4 guys. Forget about the running backs. The running backs don't seem to catch balls out of the backfield in Baltimore. But I think the talent, and maybe he hasn't had a guy that can win the ball like this. This athletic, he can play wide, he can play down the middle, in the slot. He can do it all. So I'm going to take Rashad Bateman and hope that a wide receiver can actually become something in Baltimore.
Well, they did draft him. G. So you.
Well, I do believe that. Yeah, they drafted a lot of wide receivers, mate, that ended up being nothing. You got to have wide receivers. I know that. You got to fill out.
I know, and it's not. It's not unusual for teams to draft players, and it's a head scratcher, and they just don't really know how to use them. But I feel like the Ravens organization look, they know who Lamar is, right? And they're committed to Lamar, and they.
Lamar's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He's a quarterback for how long?
And they went and they drafted Bateman. So you've got to think that they've got a plan.
Yes, and if you look at the list of the wide receivers now, okay, this is Rondale Moore, Demaryi Brown, Amari Rodgers, Kadarius Toney, Nico Collins, Amon St. Brown, Tylan Wallace. Mate, there's Josh Palmer, who the Chargers took in the 3rd. There's a heap of third-round guys that were taken. There's some 4s and 5s in there. A couple of seconds, which are absolute scratch heads to me, which is Rondale Moore. And Tutu Atwell's the biggest. Like, I have no idea what the Rams are doing there. No idea. But, mate, these guys, they're all the same. And those guys are going to come down to who the quarterback is, the draft capital, and whether or not you think from watching them what type of player you think they are, and I don't want that. I want to go get a guy that's in my top 5 and hope that they know how to use him. So
yeah.
That was my choice for that. I didn't want to be left choosing from those guys on that list. So my next pick, I have to fill out my spots, which will be running back, and I'm going to take Trey Sermon, which is an obvious choice here. He's going to be the guy at the 49ers. I know the back rooms, the running back rooms are a little bit crowded at the moment, but not with anybody that, you're going, oh my God, he's not going to take his spot away from him. He's a big guy.
Jeff
He moves.
Wilson Jr. went down with a torn, I think it was an ACL or something.
Oh, really?
So he's gone. That's Wilson, Jeff Wilson.
Oh, Wilson.
Oh, geez. Okay.
The guy who crops up with about 2 or 3 150-yard games a year and disappears for the rest of the season. So that's one obstacle less for Sermon. So I really like this pick. Actually, it was between Sermon and Carter for me just a few picks ago. So I think this is a really, really good value pick here for sure.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, you got Raheem Mossad, who I like. And you've got Wayne Gorman that they've gone and picked up. Wayne Gorman, I don't think has been that injury prone, but Mossad has been. And I think that's why they have so many running backs, because if you look at it, mate, they're forever changing guys in and out because one of them's down with something. But hopefully Trey Sermon is a big guy, man. He moves really well for a big guy.
Yeah,
he's quite fleet of foot. I didn't have him high in my running back when I looked at him. He was outside my top 5. But I did say when we spoke to who did we Jeepers Creepers, that's really poor. I can't remember his name escaping me now. We spoke to about running backs. AJ, help me out.
It wasn't me you spoke to.
No.
It was.
But the fact was that I said that he looked the most like an NFL running back. When you watch him play at the college level, it's like you're watching him play in the pros already.
Yeah.
The way that he runs.
Yeah.
So Addison Hayes.
Addison Hayes.
So when we spoke to Addison, he doesn't listen to the pod, doesn't matter. He won't even know. But yeah, he looked like an NFL back.
Yes.
So I'm more than happy for him to be my one and only decent running back in my squad.
Okay. Ben, to you.
Yeah. Well, I took that wide receiver rant there by G a little bit personally, because I think there's one more guy here that deserves to be picked as my my wide receiver 2 next to Jamar Chase, and it's a guy that I think was pretty hard done by in the draft, and he's still only 20 years old, which for what he's put up at the college level is phenomenal. I mean, I was looking.
I get the spelling right. SCHWARTZ. Schwartz. Okay. Yeah, got it.
It was between him and Schwartz. Schwartz just missed out. But I mean, look, catching 94 out of 136 targets over the last 2 years, 1,402 yards and 23 touchdowns in his 2 seasons. Probably the guy that people, haven't really paid too much attention to because of the other guys that have come out of LSU. But Terrence Marshall Jr., I think, for me here, not only, does he offer that longer term upside, I think, in an offense that probably will quite clearly come to life over the next couple of seasons in Carolina. But I just feel like this is a good pick here because, he can play inside, outside. The other thing is obviously Joe Brady, who was his offensive coordinator at LSU, is now his offensive coordinator as well in Carolina. So just a load of really positive signs there for Terrence Marshall Jr. And I'm not sure that coaching staff is sold on any of those wide receivers. I think DJ Moore's, your safe bet, but even, I'm not sure they're sort of thinking, this guy's my 1, this guy's my 2. I think they're going to spread it around and see what they've got early on in the year.
Look, the biggest problem I had with Terrence Marshall was, mate, he is, for the guys that are at the top of the list that people are talking about, I didn't have him in my top 5, but the gap between what he could be and what he might not be is pretty big. Like, I think he's hit and miss. Like, you see him make some great catches. And I think, mate, if you look at any of these wide receivers, they make a ton of great plays. But, mate, some of the stuff that he does just leaves you going, mate, what the hell are you doing? Like, that's really poor grade for a college player, let alone you're going to step up into the NFL now. And that's the problem I had with Terrence Marshall. I wish I can't find my notes on the guys, because he's one that I wanted to have another look at. But that I remember that distinctly. It's just, man, the highs were high, but the lows were like really low. Like I'd rather have not so highs and sort of try and bring it closer together. So,
Look,
but opportunity, mate, like you said, opportunity is going to be there, and by the start of next season, he could be the number 2 wide receiver in Carolina.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, right? I completely agree with you in terms of this guy's, he's not one of the top guys. He's got a lot of work to do, but 20 years old, still balled out at LSU for 2 years. Is familiar with the OC, who knows how to get the best out of him. I think it's a real, like, if you're thinking particularly, for Dynasty, just a really solid pick. And I think that's why he went probably in second rounds of most of the rookie drafts that I saw, just for that potential and the upside.
Yeah. So who's up?
AJ.
Me.
Still got a couple of spaces here, AJ.
I think, I think you should reassess Terrace Marshall. He's 21, so that he's hit the age cliff, I think.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Sorry.
Yeah,
He
he's
must-
turned 21. Yeah.
He must have just had his birthday. Did I miss that?
I was just trying to look up to see when his birth. June 9th.
Oh,
There you go.
I'll send him a text now.
June 9th.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think time to trade him. If you've got him, time to trade.
Yeah. Get out.
21.
The cliff is close.
Yeah, it's very close. So it's funny you talking about the highs and lows of someone like Terrace Marshall, because I'm going to go for someone in the middle. So instead of going for the highs and the lows, the peaks and the troughs, maybe someone who's going to get a lot of ball, someone who's got use the word arguably, you can say friggin' anything, but arguably the best hands in the entire class, let's say, and that is Rondale Moore. Or they could argue Rashad Bateman, but Rondale Moore, who I think lands in a fantastic situation with Kyler Murray, one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
He's a good fantasy quarterback, dude. I don't, mate. I still, mate. I'm so still out on Kyler Murray. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, but
You got a 4-foot guy throwing over the top of 10 feet by the time they put their hands up to another 4-foot guy on the other side.
now that's unfair. He's 5'7". So
Sorry,
listen,
5'7".
but Rondale Moore. Now, people talk about. Well, you can't mention Andy Isabella. Like, come on. Christian Kirk. Look, Rondale Moore is better than both Kirk and Isabella easily. And I think he's going to find his place in this offense pretty quickly, and be a valuable pass-catching option in the middle there.
Doing what? In the middle.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, so he's got to throw up between his offensive line and the defensive line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there's a skit on Saturday Night Live that I haven't seen yet, where it's the first clip is Bill Belichick saying to his defensive line in training before they play the Cardinals, just all I want you to do is just do this, just jump. And they're all going, what is this guy on about? And then after the game, they're all like, this guy's a genius. Like, this is why he's the best coach in the NFL, because I think it was that game where you just saw it. Like, they were just, as soon as he dropped back, they weren't rushing him. They weren't, blocking. They were just covering that, like G says, that gap above their heads so he can't throw it over. So I think AJ, I love the player, but for a guy who, the Cardinals are going to run a lot of 4 wide receiver sets, so he's going to get a lot of on the field opportunity, but out of the slot, that's worrying.
Mate, I'm concerned with anybody that plays out of the slot in Carolina. Now, if you look at in Carolina, in Arizona, if you look at take out of DeAndre Hopkins, I think the next receiver was Christian Kirk for them, and I think he was like wide receiver 40, mid 40s.
He's very unreliable, Christian Kirk too.
Well, it's not the fact, man. They've got outside now. They've got AJ Green there, so he's got to contend with him for at least one season. But mate, they're all short-ish. You got a short guy throwing the short guys. Like, you got speed everywhere, but
speed to burn. Yeah,
but mate, does speed always work? I think it's been proved the speed doesn't always. But take out, you get the Hills and you get those guys. You're gonna get the out of the box sort of type blokes. But I don't know. I don't see him being what everybody thinks he can be in Arizona. Like, if you're going to play out of the slot, mate, the best time Colin Murray throws the ball is when he runs out, breaks out to the left or the right, and he gets outside the pocket, so he can actually throw the ball, at a flattish level.
Now listen, Dave, that's what Darth Vader said about Luke Skywalker, and he hit that port. It was so big. He was used to hitting womp rats on Tatooine. The Empire weren't worried, right? And he blew that sucker up. So
he didn't have a set alignment in front of him either when he's trying to shoot the porthole either, was he? Except he's having blasters and that. He's got a shield and bouncing off. He's got R2-D2 in the back doing stuff, and then he's got Han Solo coming down and taking out the whatever those, I don't know what they call the
TIE fighters.
TIE fighters, So, okay. So back. So your second pick, AJ?
Yeah, my second pick. Should I go for the obvious? Yeah, thanks, Dave. Someone appreciates me. So, should I go for the obvious? Yeah, I probably should, because I reckon that there's a lot of wide receivers here that are sort of same, a little bit like that. So I might go.
You don't need wide receiver. Oh, you're gonna go. You might be going flex spot.
Yeah, I'm talking flex.
Okay.
I'm talking flex. Yeah, well, look, flex. It's probably not a running back, is it?
No.
Is your flex going to be are there any running backs left?
No.
No, I'll go and get Pat Fryermouth or Fryermuth here, just because he's the number 2, and I'm not saying he's bad. He's pretty decent. He's certainly a tier gap between him and Pitts. There's no doubt. And you do have that added worry that going into that Steelers offense and being a tight end, and don't expect anything from him this year. And then obviously you've got Ben probably moving on. So there's a lot of change in the Steelers offense. But I'll grab the talent here and grab Fryermuth.
Yeah, look, I don't. That's obviously a good pick at this spot with what's available at tight end. Ebron's gone at the end of this year. He's only been good for one season, and actually it was the only season that I went and drafted him. So, he's got the second round draft capital.
Yeah,
Ben's the new Phillip Rivers. He's a good route runner. He's a strong blocker. So he's not a tight end you have to take off the field. He can stay on the field for all 3 downs.
Yeah.
And that's perfect.
Dave's predicting Haskins week 6 to 9 take over from Ben.
As in like a-
Interesting. Well, Haskins can look. He's not spectacular by any stretch.
Let's not
he can
go
play.
down, let's go down the Haskins path, mate. Let's just not. That's a dark and scary place, mate. Dark and scary place you're going. All right,
Okay,
Benny,
so-
you're up.
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to go tight end as well, and I think this guy. Funnily enough, I wouldn't have taken Pat Freeman there either, for the reason that I just think this guy is better. And I looked at the tight ends pretty closely this year. I do a lot of tight end premium leagues, so I'm pretty, QBs and tight ends are the two that I sort of look at first. And this guy, look, I mean, out of Boston College. Hunter Long, he goes to Miami, which I think is a great landing spot because they use a lot of 2 tight end sets. Gesicki's in his final year. I think maybe G mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure how much they're sold on Gesicki. I mean, he obviously was a first round pick, so I think that option is probably maybe a bit expensive, even though they've got the cap room. But
might cost them.
Yeah, you see what Brian Flores and the team there have been doing. They've been flipping guys, for good value. And I think Gesicki could be a guy that gets flipped. And this guy, if that happens, Long is a guy that could really benefit. A 3-down tight end that is a better blocker than Gesicki. Lines up, he can line up anywhere in terms of receiving. Caught a lot of balls on the outside at Boston College, which was the one thing that I always look for. Tight ends who, like Pitts, right? They're lining up all over the line and catching balls everywhere. So I think it was maybe the early 3rd round. I forget. It was maybe pick. So I'll have a look now. Yeah, pick 81. And I think that's an absolute steal, if I'm honest. In fantasy drafts, I picked him up everywhere in rookie drafts. And I just think he's going to be potentially that tight end that comes out of nowhere to be productive in the next year or two.
All
Very
right.
nice.
Very good.
Mm.
I didn't really look at the tight ends that much this year, so I need to go and have a look before we start getting into a few more drafts. So I know sort of when they start to come off the board, I know what I'm looking at and what I'm trying to get. Okay, so what am I at? I need a QB and I need a running back. So I'm pretty short on the running backs now. It's a really, really poor talent pool. But I'll tell you who I'm looking at. I'm looking at Kenneth Gainwell, probably the best pass catching back in this draft. He will be the guy behind Sanders. I don't know if they're really still enamored with Sanders. Got a new regime there. The problem with that, he's not a number 1 back either.
No, but I tell you what's in his favour, G, though, is I read a report this week that said they don't see Sanders as a 3-down back. They see their backfield as a bit of a committee anyway.
Yeah, and look, and pass catching back, what passes are worth? What do they work at? They're worth two more fantasy points than runs, something like that, like a 2-to-1 ratio. And the other guy I'm looking at would be Chuba Hubbard in Carolina. He's an injury or a tweaked ankle or a tweaked knee from runs CMC from being the guy. And he's definitely, if you get 2019 Hubbard, mate, you'd be absolutely wrapped. But 2020 Hubbard wasn't great. 2020, sorry, for the fact that there was things going on not only on the football ground but within the organisation off the ground too that got to him. He wasn't happy with. So that's a pretty tough. Do I take a guy and hope that someone else gets injured? But I'm not going to. I'm going to take Kenneth Gainwell because pass catching backs
Mm.
are worth a little bit more.
Yeah, they are. That's very true.
AJ, have you got any sound effects you can add here? You know, like in the game shows and stuff, where you go ding 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 ding. You know, like a special round or like whatever it is. I don't know if you've got anything you can add here. Probably
Well,
to indicate what?
Like when I'm on and I talk about a heap of guys like Benny Hill.
This is the who would you rather section that we talked about
Nice.
earlier. Okay, so let's have a look at the full the full dynasty rankings here. So
Am I doing that?
well, yeah. So Gamewell and Chubba Hubbard
Sorry.
among the RBs. Chubba, look, they're number 48 and 49 on Fantasy Pros. The four guys ahead of them: Philip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen, Darrell Henderson, and Naheem Hines. The four guys below them: Gus Edwards, Jamal Williams, Rashad Penny, and JD McKissick.
That's not good.
So, who would you rather? Would you rather Gamewell or Chubba, or would you rather have one of those guys?
Ooh, Hines, easy, but
See, I don't
Some
know.
of the others.
I don't know about Hines. Mate, if you go and have a look at what he did this year in fantasy, he's a fair way down. Like, okay, he did well with receiving the ball, but if you go and have a look at his overall points, he's a long way down on the running back list. So if you're
who
making
cares? You just made the point. He did well receiving the ball.
yeah, but I mean overall, there was running backs that didn't catch the ball as much that scored more points than him. You know, you can't make. I was having a look. You can't make a living just being off a receiving back. It just doesn't happen. Well, mate, because you need to get carries. You need to have some sort of balance. Like if you look at the top guys, that mate, they all had. I had a look last night, and off the top of my head, most of them outside of Derrick Henry, who's just an absolute animal, mate. They're all getting 50, 60 catches out of the backfield, as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's what you need.
Where do you think Hines finished last year? RB number what?
No idea.
He was up there.
Where
20.
was it?
RB 20.
RB 20.
Which-
Okay.
He
And
was
that
an
was
RB2.
So I was
that
probably
was
looking.
due to the 7 receiving touchdowns that he got. On.
But is he the type of? When do you play him?
Yeah,
When
well,
do I play him?
yeah.
What?
Marlon
Every
Mack.
week.
Well, are you going to play him every week? Really?
Yes.
Unless you
Yeah.
have, if you have a big starting roster.
Well, it all depends who I've got, G. But yeah, in your flex,
Okay.
why not?
Yeah, I doubt that, but anyway.
I think I'm with AJ in terms of a guy like Hines, perfect flex guy. He's your guy that you would love to have that option for.
Wouldn't Kenneth Gainwell be more that guy than Chubba? Chuba?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
All right. So I made a good
I
pick
agree.
there. Okay, so my quarterback, obviously, with my last pick, would be my second guy off the board. Is Justin Fields. Basically for the same reason as Trey Lance. Like, the upside is huge. He can run the ball. He's got an arm. He's accurate, which Trey Lance is still working on the accuracy part of his game. It's already in practice. I'm not going to take anything out of practice to a point because, mate, everybody should be able to hit guys when you're just practicing running routes, and mate, everything should be on point, basically. He also has the run potential. Okay, now he's got Matt Nagy. Don't know. Hasn't had much luck so far, but he hasn't had a quarterback like Justin Fields yet. So let's give the guy a go. Andy Dalton, I'm not even worried about Andy Dalton. But Justin Fields to Trey Lance, Justin Fields has shown against the top quality what he can do. Mate, he destroyed Clemson. right? He's done it. He's had some bad games, and everybody talks about go and have a look at these 2 bad games, and this shows the downside. Mate, everybody has bad games, you know. So I'm just going to take Justin Fields. Like, the upside's huge, and he's already proven, you know, in big games what he can do. Where Trey Lance hasn't done that yet. It's all still possibilities.
Yeah.
Do you think there's this the Jets are the Jets stigma about the Bears and quarterbacks?
Well, maybe. I love the move. I do love the move, and I can't believe that this has been said many times. I can't believe the Broncos didn't pick Justin Fields. That seems the most like stubborn thing that
Isn't it be really weird with the quarterbacks that they chose? The one they let go was not the only one they let go, but the one that was like it was basically spoon fed to you. You passed on.
Yeah.
Now, if he blows up, it's like.
I feel like it was completely stubborn. Like, no, I've written the card out, and this guy's on the top of our board. I don't care that Fields fell. I don't care. We're sticking to our draft board.
It was so funny. Me and G with what's his name, Voldemort, him who shall not be named. We watched the draft down in Richmond, and we were the only guys pretty much in there watching it. Apart from this guy came in with his girlfriend, actually, who were both massive Broncos fans. And we were talking to them, and they were like, "Oh, there's talk about Rodgers. There's talk about Rodgers. There's all this kind of stuff." And we were going, "Oh yeah, they've got to go quarterback here." And they're like, "Yeah, but you know what? Elway's like, they'll give up the farm to move up to get some guy, and that's going to be hard." And then it all worked out, and Justin Fields was on the board, and you could see them. They were in front of us. They were like, ooh,
Yes.
and then Patrick Surtain Jr. And they were just like, "All right, we're going now. See you later."
Mate, they left.
Really?
Yes, they left. Got up and left.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm out.
And you don't blame them, really, do you? Like,
No.
Yeah.
I mean, since when do you pick a cornerback? I mean, look, by all accounts, one of the best ones in the rookie draft, of course. But why do you pick a cornerback over a quarterback? One of the top quarterbacks, like a top tier quarterback. You're not taking, who's that other guy?
Someone might say the same about the Falcons. Why did you take a tight end over a quarterback? And last year people were saying, well, why didn't you take CD? Which I would have taken CD Lamb, but and you go and take AJ Terrell. But
yes,
that's a bit different when you're picking a wide receiver and a position you just suck at.
Yes.
I think there's
compared to a quarterback and a corner.
CD would have been a
huge,
pretty handy player to have now, G.
Yeah, well, you can't blame this regime for that. That was the past regime. They made the decision, and this regime's just doing the best they can with, unfortunately, with a really shit salary cap.
Yes.
I think they haven't signed Kyle Pitts yet because they don't have the money to give Kyle Pitts. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think with the Broncos as well, that might have come down to it. The fact that Elway's kind of stepped aside, and the guy from Minnesota, George Patton, is now. So he's like, I've seen what this idiot's done with quarterbacks over the last few years. I'm staying away from that. But right. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think if you haven't got a Nick Bosa or a what's his name, the guy that Washington took last year, the pass rusher, Chase Young. If you haven't got a guy like that available to you in the top 4 or 5, you've got to for your franchise, and I think for your job, you've got to take a guy who's going to get the fans on your side, who's going to get an offensive guy who's going to make a splash if you've got one of those top 5 or 6 picks. And baffling that the Broncos didn't do that. But look, I mean,
especially now when you see Teddy Bridgewater doing better in camp than than Drew Lock. It's like, Teddy's not going to take you to the promised land.
No.
Right.
See you, Dave. Have a good
All
night.
right.
Have a good
See you,
night.
Dave. See you, mate. Ben, last pick, dude. You need a flex position.
Yeah, and kind of, I wanted to finish up with the flex just because, you can see what happens. Who's maybe dropped, who's been left out from each running group. But I mean, a guy here that I am big on, and I think despite the quarterback situation, it doesn't really matter, is I'm going to go Amari Rodgers in Green Bay. I think two things here. I think, Gio backed me up.
Don't care on it, mate.
So I'm just gonna send you that money now quickly. I think if you want rookie receivers to be successful at this, when you're getting down to sort of third, fourth round picks, etc., I think you want him to be a guy who can play in the slot, which is what Amari Rodgers can do. And in Green Bay, he lands in a great spot with Rodgers, Aaron, that is, because
Maybe.
yeah, but so of who he is. But he also lands in a great spot if it's Jordan Love, because a rookie quarterback's security blanket is his slot receiver. Just ping it to the slot guy, pick up the short yardage, and move on. So look, I like the landing spot. I like the player, and genuinely, you can say that the Packers always give their wide receivers opportunity, right? Because they don't draft top receivers, so they have to try and make it up with your equanimous St. Brown stroke Marcus Valdes-Scantling stroke whoever. I can't remember the guy who they never even played. Was it Jamon Moore, maybe? Rings a bell. But they drafted
one of the three they drafted in the last round. I can't remember the other guy's name.
He just never turned up, did he?
No. And look, I like Alan Lazard. I like Alan Lazard. He had a really great run there, and then he got injured. He was on fire actually. Then got injured, and then came back. I think maybe the last six weeks, maybe a few more, and just was a shell of his former self. But that maybe young guy get injured, just messes with you a little bit. Yeah. Maybe with a new off season, he can come back and be the guy that we saw at the start of last season, which Aaron Rodgers focused on him. At the start of the season, he trusted him, and that's what you got to earn his trust. So hopefully they'll work out Aaron Rodgers, at least get another 12 months out of him. After that, would you have drafted Amari Rodgers if it looked like Aaron Rodgers was going?
I think so. Here I would. Just because of what I said, because at the end of the day, I think, look, you've got Devontae Adams, you've got Robert Tonyan, and those two guys are kind of your staple, right? Like, so, I think it's all to play for after that. So I feel like even if it is Jordan Love, like I say, I think that spot's kind of there for Amari Rodgers in Green Bay, the slot receiver. And I think not rookie quarterbacks genuinely seem to link up better with other rookies than they do with some of the veteran players sometimes. So
I'm returning your money, mate, because I'm not agreeing with you.
That's fine. I mean, I must admit, it was between him and it was between Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those were the two guys that I was kind of tallying up here, and obviously Brown's probably the safer pick given the fact that the Lions have a quarterback. That's all I'll say. And he's not great at throwing the ball accurately, but they also don't have many receivers there either. So he's probably got more opportunity to start, but I don't think he's got the upside that an Amari Rodgers has in Green Bay.
Yeah. Well, because when you look at the list that I spoke about before, the guys that I probably would have taken over him, if Rogers been there, and if they can sort all that stuff out, well, that's a whole different ball game then. But if Rogers not there in 12 months' time, and he's a second-year wide receiver with Jordan Love, the other guys are just on draft capital alone. You've got Kadarius Toney, a first-round pick. Like, mate, they're going to give him every opportunity. Yeah. And, mate, if you want to talk midgets, small people, mate, I reckon he weighs less than my son, and I'm scared about how thin my son is. You've got him. You've got Amon St. Brown, who you spoke about. Mate, he could easily be one of the guys there, if not this year, the following year. Who else have we got down here? You could even look at Josh Palmer at the Chargers age. I don't know if you're going to pick him, but a third-round draft pick who could easily, at the end of this year, be the number 2 guy at the Chargers.
I don't know, mid-range.
So, they're probably some of the guys I would look at. Even Nico Collins, the only problem with that, you got no quarterback. And his numbers weren't great, but, man, the quarterback situation there was horrendous, absolutely horrendous to miss. It was terrible. Didn't give the guy a chance at all. Or even Dwayne Eskridge. Okay, he's 24 years old.
Mate, I think you can rest your case here, mate, because you're just adding years onto my sentence here, mate. That's all you're doing. You're not doing me any favors at all.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. I'm opening these guys up for AJ. He needs a flex guy. Are you going to take one of those guys I just mentioned, AJ?
Well, you've mentioned all of them. You've mentioned all the players.
Mate, Tutu Atwell, Anthony Schwartz, Tyler Wallace at Baltimore, Cornell Powell, Kansas City. There's a few guys there, mate.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I've
already Brown in Washington.
I've already written down my pick, which was, and we've already spoken about him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is, I think, the next one. Actually, there's kind of a group of receivers here that I feel like.
I just read them all out.
To a point, you did read them all out.
Read them all out.
I feel like if you're at this point in your rookie draft, you're kind of like, yeah, I'll take one of them. That's fine. And Amon-Ra St. Brown's kind of like that. And yes, you really like the opportunity, but again, you kind of yes, Jared Goff is there. That's the elephant in the room. I mean, who knows what happens in Detroit, but he's going to have lots of opportunity there. I mean, what is it? It's Hawk and him, basically. So I think that, he could have a really good season. He's going to get lots of playing time, and that's going to be good for him as a player. So I think it's a good pick. But I think Josh Palmer's a good pick too. And, you've made some good points about, I mean, a young quarterback in Justin Herbert, you come into that Chargers offense and you could very well be the number 2 wide receiver in 12 months' time.
Yeah, because you've got, like I said, you've got a group of guys here and you have to put them together. They're going to try and pull them out and separate them for what particular reason. Is it the quarterback? Is it the draft capital? Is it, I think you're a good player? Who are the other receivers on the team? Who's going to be there next season? So you got a massive group of guys in this range where you're going to have to decide what is the reason that you're picking them.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's going to come down to your personal preference on what reason then. So, because nothing splits them really, I don't think.
No. That's exactly right. So we are done.
We're done.
And the teams are your team. You've got Justin Fields at quarterback. At running back, you've got Trey Sermon and Kenneth Gainwell. At wide receiver, you've got Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. Or Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith, depending on how you want to put it. Tight end, you've got Kyle Pitts. And you've got Rashad Bateman in your flex position. That's pretty good.
It's not too bad. Seeing I didn't have any.
Not too shabby.
No, no running backs because I didn't work this out too well.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Not too shabby. And look, it does illustrate, there's not many running backs in this class. Next year does look a lot better, I believe. But this wasn't a great year for running back, especially when players like Chuba Hubbard sort of dropped off the map a little bit. I think 12 months ago, people were talking him up as one of the top picks, and he kind of really dropped up.
You you couldn't even stare them, could you? Really, you couldn't even stare these running backs. It's
No.
like I should say step them, because it went step,
Boom. Yeah.
boom.
Ben, you have got T-Law, so you've got the you've scooped the pool at quarterback. You've got the gold standard there, but I think
Face of the franchise, I think you're looking for that.
face of the franchise. But in ways, I kind of feel like, especially with that top three, I don't know that there's a lot that separates them. Yes, T-Law gets a lot of fanfare, and he's been talked up for a long, long time, for sure. But look, is there a lot that's going to separate him and Fields and Lance? And to be honest with you, in fantasy, Lance and Fields especially, if you've got a quarterback who's got the legs, that's what you want. That's what you want. So we might find, who knows? We might find that the order is different in 12, 24, 36 months. Running back, you've got you've got Williams.
Javonte Williams.
Yep,
And
Javonte
Michael
Williams
Carter.
and
You want me to
Michael
do this?
Carter. No, I can do it.
Okay,
And then wide
all right.
receiver, you've got Jamar Chase and you've got Terrace Marshall Jr. Tight end, which was, obviously after Kyle Pitts went off the board, it was hard. But Hunter Long, and you've got, there's some good reasoning behind why that might be a good pick there. And Amari Rodgers, I really like that. I would have gone Rodgers if you didn't for the flex spot. And for me, clearly the best team out of the three. I've got Trey Lance at quarterback. I've got Harrison Etienne. Well, I've certainly got the best running back room. I don't think you can deny that. Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore, wide receiver. So, don't ask me to get the things off the top shelf in the pantry with my wide receiver room. Pat Fryermuth at tight end and Amon-Ra St. Brown in my flex. There we go.
Well, I think AJ's, when you look at it outside of Trey Lance, he's probably got the best chance of scoring the most points in year one.
That's a fair call.
Just because you've got the two running backs. You've got Elijah Moore is going to be a starter straight away. Rondale Moore, they'll try and work in somehow. Maybe Pat Fryermuth is going to be a starter. And Amon St. Brown, looking at the wide receivers they have there in Detroit, will probably be at least he'll get on the park and they'll realise pretty quickly that he's better than the outside of Terrell Williams. Hopefully, will be he could be the second guy. So
sure, yeah, very good point. Very good point. Okay, well that was a fun exercise, and I think it does illustrate certainly the tiers in this rookie class. Like it does really drop off. I think that's where, I've been doing obviously a lot of my leagues are IDP. I think that makes a big difference too, because then it goes a lot deeper. But otherwise you find towards the end of the first round even, like you're hitting a tier, aren't you? Towards the end of the first.
What not a difference is the fact that you can't wrap up a show.
Oh, okay. All right. You want me to wrap up? Anyway, Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
always a pleasure, gents. I felt a bit anxious after last week's show. I thought nothing could have really followed that. I actually saw that you guys were actually nominated for a few awards. I didn't know if you saw that. You were nominated for Best Editing for Profanity by AJ. You were also nominated for Best NASCAR Pod of the Week. And you were also nominated for Best Actor in a Horror Film by G. So good luck with the awards there, guys.
Well, a bit cloudy, a bit dusty next day, I can tell you. That's all part of it. You never know what you're going to get.
No,
exactly. Yep. It's a quote, Forrest Gump. So, or not.
So, on behalf of AJ.
You want me to wrap up? Okay. Ben. So, on behalf of AJ, Ben, and G, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. Catch you later. In broad.